Welcome, everybody. My name is Nico Gonzalez. I am the chair of Real Time Live, and it is a real pleasure to welcome you, each one of you, to this year's show. We have some fantastic content for you tonight, but why don't we just jump right into it? First of all, I want to acknowledge Xin Huang and Sheng Li for their fantastic piece, The Inheritance, an interactive dancing performance. They will be actually doing a technical breakdown of the piece as they were using an Xsense motion system at the Xsense booth tomorrow, Wednesday at noon. Our next presenter is real-time cinematic shot lighting in the order 1886, presented by Deshaun Agarwal from Ready at Dawn Studios. Deshaun?
Mike. Hello. Thanks, Nico. Hey, everyone. I'm Deshaun with Ready at Dawn Studios. We created and developed a PS4 exclusive called the Order 1886 earlier this year. Given the game's cinematic appeal, lighting for both gameplay and cinematics was extremely challenging. But today, I'm mostly going to be talking a little bit about our cinematic lighting workflow. So here's one of the cinematics from the game, and I'm just going to play this for you real quick before I talk about some of the fun stuff. As a small disclaimer, this is a development build running on the PS4 dev kit with all our debug menus and other frills. So I apologize if there are any frame drops, pops, or any other hiccups. So one of the big lighting challenges on the Order was that we made a decision early on not to have any pre-rendered cinematics, so we could present players with a seamless experience from gameplay to cinematics to gameplay again. So this meant everything had to be rendered real time, running at a target frame rate, while still maintaining the visual fidelity of pre-rendered CG. So I'm just going to switch to my debug camera here, just to really show you what's going on behind the scenes. One second.
For liberty.
That's probably better. So this is the same cinematic we just watched. And there's all the magic. So what you see here is our engine sequencing predefined groups of lights from a collection of hundreds of lights in the scene. We developed a shot-based lighting system that gave the artist complete control over all the lights in the shot, so we could tune the lights specifically to meet the actor's performance and also make a lot of optimizations like turn off any gameplay lights that weren't necessarily required in the cinematic or shot. And to do that, we tightly integrated scene sets into our engine. And scene sets just made it really easy for us to go into our internal scripting application and set a group of lights to be on or off. So I want to show you one of the coolest features that made lighting the cinematics a lot of fun. But before that, I want to pause at a slightly more interesting shot. Right there. So this is my cinematic shot lighting file in Maya. And if I bring up my outliner, these are all the sets that I talked about earlier. And so each set is essentially a shot with its own group of lights right here. So we had an automation tool that would essentially generate the cinematic lighting file for us. So it would query all our animation data and then create all these unique sets linked to every shot, and also create all these low-res proxy meshes for the characters, as well as the cached animation of the scene. So it was a great point of reference when you get into lighting. So I just want to bring up the shot for the lights for this particular shot, right there. And so those are the lights. And so now I can live connect our engine in Maya to the game running live on the PS4 and start lighting my scene. So I can move my lights wherever I want, place them however I like. So maybe I want to do that. I can change the intensity, color, say I want to make the shot slightly more red, the cone angle, penumbra. I can turn shadows on or off, or change their properties. Our volumetrics are built into our lights, and so I can turn those on or off and change the intensity if I'd like. So if I wanted to give this shot a slightly smoky feel, I guess more than there is, I can do that pretty easily. So say now I was happy with this version of the shot. We have a really cool shot lighting takes tool. I can come here and save this as a new version, or rather as a new take, and then I can swap between what I had before and this new take. So this really just allowed us to give the art director a few options to see what direction we wanted to go in. And so now as I continue lighting my cinematic and move on to another shot, say this one, and I wanted to use the lights from my previous shot as a starting point, I can just copy over the lights pretty easily. I can come here and just copy those lights, and there you have it. And so now I can save this as a new take and then swap between what I had before and this new version. So this really made the process a lot of fun and allowed us to spend a lot of time just lighting. One other big advantage of the live editing feature was performance optimization. We could turn lights on or off, change their properties, and see what was affecting frame rate, and then make the necessary adjustments to bring the shot into budget. To end with, I just want to show you how pretty this scene looked to a lighting artist. And that's it. Those are all the lights from all the shots in the cinematic. Thank you.
Right done.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Dushan. Up next, we have fast teeth scanning for advanced digital dentistry, presented by Peter Jensen from 3Shape. Peter?
Hi, I'm Peter. At 3Shape, we produce 3D scanners and CAD applications for the dental and audio industry. Today, I'd like to demonstrate our tooth scanner, which we use to produce 3D models of patients' teeth. These models are essential in order to be able to create new teeth using digital CAD applications. So the scanner is basically a depth and video color camera. It takes 20 depth images per second, and it uses a focus scanning technology where each of these depth images are constructed from 100 1-megapixel images. That means the scanner generates around 2 gigabytes of data per second. So I'll now go ahead and show you how the scanner works. We're using a volumetric-based scanning approach similar to the Kinect Fusion project. And during scanning, we also distribute 3D surface descriptors throughout the model. That means we can use these for the camera tracking and scan at any location on the model. So one of our most important features is the ability to remove soft tissue. Here, imagine that my finger is a piece of lip or tongue, something that got in the way. And that's actually quite harmful for the quality of the scan. So once that gets out of the way again, I can just scan over the same surface in order to remove it. And the software does this by seeing that it can actually see through that surface, and therefore it can remove it. So I will now scan my own teeth in the same way as it would be done in a dental practice. Oh no, that was not supposed to happen. So I'm terribly sorry about that. As a disclaimer, I guess I should have said that actually we brought a beta version here for SIGGRAPH because we wanted to be able to show you the latest and the greatest stuff that we have. And well, it's pretty fast to start it up again, so thank you for not booing. And I promise this last bit it should work, and it's worth waiting for. Let's try that again. Oh. This is starting to get a little bit embarrassing. Let's just see. And then it should be able to reconnect, possibly. Oh no! Okay, should we give it one last try, or otherwise I don't know. I'm really sorry. See, so we had a lot of rehearsals, and you can ask any of the organizers, this didn't happen. Okay. So I'll just try to carry on as if nothing happened. I hope that works for you. So basically, our rendering is really simple. We just raycast the volume, and then we combine our captured colors with a specular shading model that we designed ourselves. It's also very important to scan the upper jaw. It's because we need to be able to make teeth that has the correct height and where it matches with the geometry when the patient bites down. So we now need to align the upper and the lower jaw, and I will do that by scanning while biting down. Thank you for the support. So when we're doing this alignment, we're using the same 3D surface descriptors. So the descriptors from the upper and the lower model are matched during scanning to the incoming bite scan to find the correct transformation. Finally, I'd like to end by showing actually that when our scanner works, it has a pretty high accuracy and resolution. So actually, we're able to capture very fine details like these fine lines found in the palm of my hand. And our camera tracking also works even though there's a very little amount of geometrical features available. Thank you for your support, guys.
Thank you so much, Peter. I guess that's what we call real-time live, right? And anyway, up next, Disney Infinity 3.0 with a physics-based animation presented by Jose Villeta, Robert Summers, and Daniel Zimmerman from Disney Interactive, Disney Research, and Studio Gobo.
So thanks a lot, Nico. We're super happy to have the chance to give this demo here at SIGGRAPH today because we've been able to take a very complex concept that's been studied for years and years and years by the SIGGRAPH research community, physics-based character animation, and overcome the challenges related to scalability, computation time, art directability, in order to take this research concept and bring it into a live game where it's going to be experienced by thousands and thousands of people. Daniel is going to tell us all about it.
Hey, I'm Daniel from Studio Gobo. We worked with Disney Interactive and Avalanche Software on Disney Infinity 3.0, which featured Star Wars, which was pretty damn exciting for us to work on. So we were kind of, it was pretty clear that we had to have 80/80 walkers in the game, and it needed to be one of the key moments and key features of the game. So we were kind of thinking what we were going to do. We could just make it a linear experience, put it on rails, let it walk from A to B. We thought we'd leave that to the Battlefront guys, and instead make a full physical simulation of the 80/80 walker. What's really super, super awesome about that stuff is how dynamic it is and how reactive and how much richness it brings into the game. I have this you see my little tool window here and my mouse. If I drag this slider here, which is the desired body height of the 80/80, you can see, it looks a bit, boring if it's just standing. But if I drag this slider, you see how dynamic it actually is. It goes up and down. So if I concentrate really hard, I can be a Jedi, and I can use the Force and actually throw snowballs at it. And this shows what, because it's physically simulated, it behaves just the same as it would in real life. It behaves the same as us. So it needs to balance. And throwing the snowballs actually shows what it does. And because I'm really good at the Force, I can throw multiple of them. And if it's just too much, it will naturally fall. And there's no, no animators involved, all physical, all simulation. So from there on, now we have the balancing in place. We can make it walk pretty easily. I'm just going to click the walk button. It's literally just lifting one foot at a time. And we're almost there. The next thing is, this is the desired velocity. I'm going to drag it forward. This controls how fast we want it to walk. Now I have some debug drawing for you. There you go. Those blue lines show it's a pose that it wants to be in. It's kind of a desired pose. And the physical simulation then control how the motors work on the 80/80 and push it into that pose. With that, adding body parts is pretty simple. I'm going to free cam a little bit so you can see the neck of it a little bit better. You see the blue line that controls the asset's head. I can change the angle of that, and it will just follow it naturally. And because we can, we also made, we made these little doors on the other side. We did those physical too. So we can open and close them just normally, just by dragging a slider. And you see these nice little secondary bumps, these little motions? There is no animation in there. This is what the physics would do in real world. Oh, we have an upper door. There you go. There we go. Now the red lines, I'm going to turn the other one off. The red lines show a desired trajectory that it wants to follow, that it wants the feet to follow. And it's the same principle. The physics then just compute what a motor should do to follow those trajectories. And there's a lot of art directability in here as well. If I just tune those trajectories a little bit, it will just follow them. There you go. And to conclude this demo, I want to show some actual gameplay from the game. One of many ways to take our 80/80s down is to use the traditional takedown from the movies using a tow cable. And even our snow speeders and tow cable are physical entities. So as I initiate the takedown, you see that the cable naturally wraps around it. And there's forces and everything, and as I keep moving, at some point it gets too much and it will just fall. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, guys. Up next, we have Balloon Burst, presented by Miles Mecklin from the NVIDIA Corporation. Miles?
Hi, everyone. My name is Miles. I work on the physics research team at NVIDIA. And today I'm going to show you one of our most recent demos that we made for the Titan X GPU launch a little bit earlier this year. It's just a short simulation, so I'm going to let it play and then reset it and play it a couple more times and talk about how it works. So here we go. So as you can see, it's a simulation of a water balloon suspended in space being burst by a bullet passing through it in slow motion. And this is a really popular subject, it seems, on YouTube. There's a lot of great reference material out there, and we wanted to see if we could recreate this effect in real time. So I'm just going to reset the demo and play it again and pause it at an interesting point. So if I just stop it there and go to a debug mode, this is what the underlying simulation consists of. Basically, it's a particle-based simulation. We use our unified GPU solver Flex and model everything as particles connected by constraints. So here we have the fluid inside the balloon. It consists of around 250,000 fluid particles, SPH particles. And those are coupled to the cloth, or the balloon, which is also made of particles, and they're connected by a network of distance constraints. So we essentially model it as a piece of cloth. And the balloon's connected, as you can see, to a rope at the top here, and that holds the whole weight of the balloon. So that's kind of the nice thing about having this unified framework. All these elements exist in the same system, which means they can interact, and the balloon can contain the fluid, and the rope can suspend the balloon. And we also represent the bullet as a set of particles. And we detect when the bullet hits the mesh, and if an edge in the triangle mesh, if the strain on that edge goes over a certain threshold, we remove it from the system and update the mesh topology. So I'll just play that out from here. Oh, I'll just mention some numbers. I mean, in total, I think we have around 300,000 simulation particles and around 100,000 constraints. And we solve that on the GPU in around 8 milliseconds. So I'll just play that out from here. And you can see as the cloth gets fractured, the tension in the rope releases and it pulls upwards, and the particles spread out with surface tension and all these effects. So I'll just reset it one more time and talk a little bit about the rendering. If I take away some of these layers, you can see just the fluid surface. And we really wanted the fluid to be the hero of this demo. So we knew that our sort of typical screen space splatting effects wouldn't really give us the quality that we wanted. And we have a new mesh-based surface tracking paper this year at SIGGRAPH, which gives really nice meshes, but we found we couldn't ray trace them fast enough to put them in a real-time demo. So what you see here is a volumetric effect. We splat the fluid particles to a density volume, and it's a dense volume. It's 512 by 256 by 256 voxel volume. And then we ray match that in the pixel shader and find intersections with the ISO surface, refine those intersections. And then the nice thing is that we perform multiple internal bounces. So you can see as I turn down the number of bounces here, you get a really boring surface with just a single primary hit. And as I increase the number of bounces, you get these really nice internal reflections and refractions, and you can see the cavitation where the bullets pass through the fluid. So on top of the fluid, we have some secondary particles. These spray particles are spawned in response to the mesh detaching from the surface, and they inherit the velocity of the mesh. So we spawn up to about 500,000 of these, and they just follow ballistic trajectories. So they're really cheap to simulate. So we can do lots of them. And then we have another set of particles, which are slightly larger. These are fluid particles which have become isolated and can't be resolved on the grid, so we render them directly. So you have these kind of like this 3-level representation of the fluid. And of course, on top of that, we have the mesh, the cloth and the mesh itself. And we rasterize that and render it to the back buffer. And then we also render it to a cube map, and we use that for approximate reflections and refractions through the fluid. So I'll just play it out from this angle as well. And you get these really nice shapes evolving as the simulation progresses. And if you just change the initial conditions a little bit, you get also like really different shapes happening. So I've just lowered the bullet in this one a little bit, and you get these quite different shapes, these really nice structures coming out. Yeah, so it was a really fun demo to work on, and we did a lot of performance optimization, especially on the fluid shader. So if you're interested in any of the details on that, please come see me afterwards. Thank you.
Thanks, Miles. So this year we have a little bit of a surprise for you guys. We have a blast from the past. ShaderToy is back, but this year we're back with ShaderToy competition. To tell you all about it, I have Paul Jeremias and Inigo Quines from BeautyPie.
Thank you, Nico. So he is Inigo. I'm Paul. We're creators of ShaderToy. Before we talk about the ShaderToy competition, we wanted to do a little bit of a quick introduction so people have a little bit of context of what's going on. ShaderToy is a website where people can upload images created procedurally by code. And when we say by code, we really mean by code. Everything is created by code. It's also live code. It runs on the browser, uses WebGL, and your GPUs. And we try to squeeze everything we can from your GPUs. So a couple quick facts about ShaderToy. We actually presented here 2 years ago. Since then, it's been awesome. We've had thousands of people, thousands of shaders going on. And we've heard the ShaderToy name a couple times already this week. So thanks a lot for all the contributions. So what is a ShaderToy? A ShaderToy is what you're looking at on screen, on that code. It's just a function of 2 coordinates, x and y, and then you make some magic happen there, and you output a color. In that case, the magic is that forest. So imagine there is a function called compute forest, and you call that per every pixel in screen. Also, to make things a little bit more complicated than it would already be, it's stateless. So at the beginning of every frame, you start from scratch, just to make it a little bit more complicated.
Yeah. So the reason we are here is because 1 month ago, we did ask our users to be part of a competition. And the deadline was yesterday. And what we did ask them to do, actually, is to create a ShaderToy of one of these mathematical images after a movie scene or a game moment that they liked a lot that had an impact on them. So we got 22 entries, 22 results, all of them pretty crazy. But we have selected 3 of them to show it to you today. And that's because people are working so hard that we wanted to honor their work and show it to as many people as we could, which is all of you. So we are going to see the 3 finalists.
Yes. So first finalist of the competition is the DeLorean. So let's make sure we have sound. It would be sad if not.
Go for it.
So again, when I said that there is just one function, really, that's just one function running for every single pixel in the screen. In this case, it's doing modeling. There's reflections, ray marching stuff, and distance fills, and magic, and lots of stuff.
Yeah. The second entry, or the second best shader, was Oblivion, made by Dave Hoskins. So you can see it's a pretty complex mathematical image, right? There is 3D shapes made with spheres and boxes. But probably the most interesting part of this shader is that the music and the sounds are created in a GLSL shader, basically. So it is the GPU which is computing the sound waveform mathematically by using GLSL instructions. Yeah, it's pretty sick.
Yeah, it's amazing. And our final finalist, it's, well, Mario. So now, again, it's just one function, right? So what that means is literally like the whole game is running every pixel. So we have like about how many, Inigo?
Maybe should be 2 million.
2 million Marios running at the same time. Pretty amazing. And the sound, too.
Yeah, the sound is in the GPU as well. Let's wait until the end.
Here we go, here we go.
All righty.
Yeah, all right, so, yeah, that's intense.
Yeah. So these were the 3 shaders that we thought were the best, but it was a competition after all. So we have to pick the winner. So how are we doing that?
I think we should clap for every single one of them.
Like you and I, we clap?
No, all of us. We should clap all together for every single one of them, and we can figure out which one is the best one.
All right.
But first, before we start, I think we should do a test. Like, can we just do like just an applause, please, to figure it out? All right.
So now, one by one, go ahead now, go crazy, and clap for the DeLorean if you liked it.
All right. Well, that's good. What about Oblivion? Some love? All right. That's good. What about the Mario shader? All right.
Okay, I think it looks to me like...
we need to...
What? Yeah, I know. So, yeah, it doesn't seem to me. This is SIGGRAPH, so we have to be scientific.
Yeah,
but
we need to be very
scientific. By the very scientific power of clapping and the technology of clapping, looks to me like Mario is the winner, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, Mario
Okay,
is
one
the
more
winner.
applause.
That's right.
For Mario shader. That was pretty sick.
Now, is the creator of Mario in the audience?
But that could happen, actually.
If it is, could you stand up, please?
That's him?
Give an applause, please. Give an applause to him. That's the man. So, yeah, that's right.
So what do we give to him?
That's right. He's taking. Yeah, that's right. We actually weren't expecting the creator was going to be here.
No,
so.
and not on stage for sure. Let's improvise now.
Amazing stuff.
Good job.
So
man.
he's taking home an NVIDIA Quadro M5000, which was introduced yesterday, I believe. So thanks to NVIDIA for the prizes. Also, the 2 finalists are getting NVIDIA Shield. So yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for the contributions. Thanks SIGGRAPH.
And
thanks for the contributors.
Join us in Shader Toy.
Yes. Also, we are not hiring, but tomorrow, if you want to learn about Shader Toy, we have a 90-minute session where we're going to build a whole landscape from scratch.
With mathematics.
Yeah, join us. Thank you. Awesome stuff, man.
Good job, man.
Awesome. Okay, up next, we have Cinematic Tools in the Blacksmith, presented by Veselin Efremov and Ronaldas Soma from Unity Technologies.
Thank you, Nico. So with the Blacksmith, we wanted to put our technology to test, see how well we can handle more cinematic content. And now I don't have time to play the whole thing, so I'll just quickly scrub through it so you have some sense of context. So we have several scenes, indoors, going out. Okay, I guess I'll spoil it for everyone who hasn't seen it yet. Okay, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. So now I'm going to pick a few scenes to show you exactly how we did our scene management. And for that, I'll switch to a setup with 2 screens. Now, on the central screen, you can see the final shot as it's rendered seen through the camera with all the neat camera effects like depth of field, motion blur, color grading, grain, all that. And on the side screens, you can see how it looks in our editor. So that way, you'll be able to see exactly how the shots are set up. Well, not exactly, but get some idea. So one thing you can probably notice as I keep scrubbing and going over the timeline through the different shots is that quite a lot of objects from the environment change position, scale, like rotate. Like, for instance, this boat moves quite a bit. In some cases, we have vegetation popping in. So having control over the framing of a shot is really important, how we do the composition of all the objects. And while it's probably ideal if we could build the scene in such a way that it works perfectly for every camera position and rotation and lens, this is a bit too hard, maybe even impossible in some cases, and especially given our really small team. Basically, I was the only artist who worked in the editor, so I had to build all the shots and set up all the lighting and camera effects, so it was just not possible. So with having the ability to just move objects around immediately, everything is rendered in real time, so we can just move them around immediately on the cuts, the camera cuts. We could just focus on having the perfect composition, or at least the one that we liked. That's not always the same. And not worry too much, as long as we made sure that continuity didn't look broken. So in this case, for instance, you can see that the boat, like, it sinks quite a bit in this last shot. Here, for instance, I wanted a more bottom-heavy composition so that only our anti-hero looms over the whole frame. Another area that we wanted more control in is, of course, lighting. Let me find my shot. So if you look closely, especially on the smaller screens on the side, you'll see that the lighting actually is not really consistent at all between the shots. So the 2 characters are facing each other, but you can see there how the backlight goes. It's all like every single shot has its own complete light setup, different sun, different sky, so we can change the sun intensity or the amount of bounce light, or like just rotate it as we wish. With the sky as well, we can tweak it per shot, even just change the HDR image that we use for our image-based lighting. So in every shot, in theory, can have a different sky. And it was decoupled from the visible sky, like the clouds and all that, so because we wanted to, again, to have control. So having global control over the lighting is nice, but we wanted even more. So, for instance, in this shot, where we have both characters on screen and the environment, so one thing that we did was to separate the lighting of the environment and the characters. So if I go to the light setup of this shot, I can just rotate the light of the environment. Actually, let me remove the cloud shadow so that you can see better. So I can just rotate the sun without affecting the lighting of the characters at all. Can change the intensity, the amount of GI contribution, and the characters are the same. Of course, with that sort of control comes some responsibility. You have to be careful not to be caught cheating, but it can help quite a bit to have this sort of perfect, the character popping on in the frame against a dark environment, for instance, or something like that. So, okay, the next step, we're sort of control freaks, so the next thing we did was to separate the lighting of the two characters. So in some cases, you have a dominant hero, and we wanted to be able to tweak, like to add, for instance, local lights, like eye light for one character, or just to exaggerate the kick or something. And these are a bit subtle effects, so I can just demonstrate by shining into his face. So this is a light only for one of the characters. Also, another thing, we can control per character how much light they get from the environment, like the sky and bounce. For instance, I can just, like this character, if I want, I can make him sink into the shadows more, and then make the other one, who is dominant in this shot, more, like get more ambient light. There are many other things that we did in sort of for the reason to have more control over our shots. For instance, we can change materials per objects. If in certain shot one material is too bright, some object, or too glossy, we can just assign a different material on the fly. Another thing, for instance, is the visible sun and its contribution to the scattering. It's decoupled from the light source of the sun, and then you must be really careful. But if you really want, you can just make those God rays exactly behind that mountain, and while still keeping the perfect, like make sure that the light hits all objects as desired. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Up next, we have My Digital Face, presented by Ari Shafiro, Evan Suma, and Andrew Feng from the USC Institute for Creative Technologies. All right.
Thank you, Nico. In addition to the presenters on stage, this is work from USC ICT, which includes Dan Casas, Oleg Alexander, Graham Fife, Paul DeBevic, and Richard Wang. Last year on the Real-Time Live stage, we demonstrated a way to create a 3D avatar using a single Microsoft Kinect sensor without assistance, and then animate and control it within 3 minutes. This year, we're going to show you how to use the 3D scans from an ordinary sensor to create and control a 3D animated face by creating a blend shake rig from the scans automatically. And while I'm talking, Evan will be capturing the face poses necessary using a laptop and an Intel RealSense sensor. 3D scan data has become increasingly available and accessible over the past few years. At the high end, you have photogrammetric cages, light stages, laser scanners, and they can produce stunning imagery, and it's suitable for film or video games. On the consumer level, there are, the ability to acquire a 3D scan is becoming ubiquitous with depth sensors like the Microsoft Kinect, Intel RealSense, occipital structure sensor, and the like. And even through multiple images collected through our cell phone. The ability to acquire this data is becoming for everybody. So while the high-quality scans, you can create characters for film and movies if you have a 3D art pipeline to process them, the consumer community is still looking for an interesting use of a static 3D face or body scan. And while there is one use for 3D scans of our bodies and faces, there are only so many 3D printed figurines, bride and groom, wedding toppers, and Christmas tree ornaments that we're going to buy. And that's the motivation, of the work. We'd like to do more with this 3D data. What if we can create 3D versions of ourselves without technical expertise, artistic talent, cost, or even time? We believe there's a myriad of uses from social media, communication, virtual reality, and so forth, in addition to their use in film and games. And you can see Evan here is creating these face scans, a neutral pose, closed eye, which we'll use as a blink, a smile, a sneer, and an eyebrows up pose. And the difficulty in creating this animatable face using the scans is that the data itself doesn't share the same topology. It's different number of vertices, different connectivity. So the key is to really find some correspondences between this data. So if we could launch a Vuvuzela. So we're going to show you a visualization of what happens underneath the hood. So what we're about to show you is a visualization of a tool that creates correspondences between the data. So you'll see on the left there's two facial poses, the neutral and the smile. And the points on the face represent in 2D space the similar areas, so the eyebrows and nose, the side of the face. And with this, what we can do is we can find correspondences both in geometry and in texture space. So as we go between the neutral and the smile, you can see that the texture's going nicely. The cheeks get flusher with blood. There's some wrinkles that appear. So if we turn off the texture blending, we only blend the geometry, you can see that just moving the geometry around produces some very strange artifacts, and it doesn't give us honest results. And if we switch to and only blend the textures, you can see that the textures themselves blend into each other, and you can see the fullness of the cheeks, wrinkles, and everything. And you can also see how well the textures line up with that. So now we're ready, and we want to show you the results of the face. So Evan is going to launch our animation tool. And so now he's live puppeteering his own face. And the interesting thing about this is that we're preserving the scan quality from the 3D sensors, right? We're not creating a cartoonish or sort of a version of yourself. This is as close to the scan data as we can possibly get. So as the quality of the sensors improve, the quality of the face will improve as well. And we have no doubt that the sensors will improve as they go on. So it's fun to puppeteer your own face. Sometimes it's even more fun to puppeteer somebody else's face. So this is Elnaz. She's a PhD student over at ICT. And we've created a couple other shapes for her, so like a puff and open mouth. But you can see it preserves the photorealistic quality of the face. And finally, although he's a busy man, we found time to do a quick scan of Mark J. Barr, the SIGGRAPH conference chair. Hey, Mark, how'd you enjoy organizing SIGGRAPH this year? So we'll be at the Intel booth tomorrow. If you want to get a 3D blend shape rig of your face, please come on down. And thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Up next, we have Baby X, presented by Mark Sager from the Laboratory for Animated Technologies, the Auckland Bioengineering Institute at the University of Auckland. Mark?
Thank you. So Baby X project, what it's really about is it's about understanding us. It's how do we tick? What drives our behavior? Why do we do anything? How do we learn? And how do we emotionally connect? So our behavior, when you think about it, it emerges as a result of many systems interacting at different scales. So it's from low-level biology to high-level social interaction. So what we're doing is we're simulating faces and then neural systems and basically putting these together to basically create autonomous animation. And so in a way, we're creating nerve animation. How does the brain drive the face? And to do this, we built basically a Lego system to interconnect all kinds of different neural networks with cameras and computer graphics to basically create artificial nervous systems. And so if we take a bunch of different types of circuits around the brain, so toy versions of each circuit, and we basically embody them. In this case, it's a biomechanical baby because you can't get real babies to do what you want. So we pre-compute the biomechanical shapes. And when we put them all together, I'll just fire up baby. So what's happening now is she's basically, all her brain wires are being interconnected. So it takes about 15 seconds or so to boot up. So I never know exactly what she's going to do. Here she is. Okay. Okay. So she's basically, 3D model. So we can zoom around, look at her, and she can see in here. So I'll do a lot. See, give her a fright like that. And this is, you can see my face here, so you can see what she's looking at. And yeah, and if, hey, sweetheart, smile. Hey, it's okay. Hey, hey. Now, she's not copying my expression. She's actually responding to me. I'm basically setting off her feel-good chemicals. Now, what I'm going to do is a bit cruel. I'm going to abandon her. So I'm going to sort of hide over here. And this is basically, she's going to emergently start trying to look for me, and she's probably going to get distressed. And if you look where the mouse is over here, if you look for a red line, which will be the amount of cortisol, and that's going to start building up. It's okay. Hey, sweetheart, it's okay. It's okay. Hey, hey. She's listening to my tone of voice. Hey, it's okay. Good girl. Yeah, very good. So we look different sort of levels here. So we've got oxytocin and all kinds of things. Thank you. Now, because... Thank you. Now, so she's also learning in real time. So what we're going to do now is basically like Pavlovian learning. So I'm going to do a... Can you hear the bell? That's like a conditioned stimulus. Doesn't mean anything. Hey, sweetheart, you like the bell? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Okay, now, I might take a little bit. Hey, sweetheart, you like the bell? Yes, you do. Now do the bell by itself. There we go. So that's making her happy. She's literally sort of associated this sort of state with how it's going. Now, all of her animation is created live by neural networks. And so if we basically, what I'm going to do now is remove her face so you can see what's actually driving it. Now, what you're actually looking at now is what we've done is we've taken the neural networks driving a face and put them on the neuroanatomy. So this is a sort of live 3D brain. And moving around like this, you'll see the oculomotor nuclei, which are controlling the eye movements, firing. And we can spin it around and look at different parts. So here we see the visual cortex here. And now let's remove the cortex and zoom into the brainstem. So this area of the brain here is called the superior colliculus, which basically maps the world onto your body. But as you see, activity on this area is basically driving the nuclei, driving the eye movements. So we come out of here, and now it's probably a bit hard to see in this, but where the mouse is part on the cortex, and it's coming down into the brain, and this is a thalamocortical loop. And what happens is if you want to move, basically activity builds up with positive feedback. So if I'm going to now basically bump up the amount of dopamine in the circuit, and the loop starts heating up. So now what happens when you get too much of this is everything wants to move at once, and that's Huntington's disease. Now if we drop the amount of dopamine, you can see this green sort of circuit here. Now drop it down, I'm now killing off that area, and this is Parkinson's disease. The brain wants to move the body, but the body can't move. So now we come out of the face again, and because of the way in the Lego system we can map everything, we can look at the clinical markers of this. So if you watch your eyes, I'm just going to bump up the amount of dopamine. Let's see. Sure, let's click on that a bit more. Let's drop it down. Oh, yeah, she's really kind of stoned at the moment, actually. But basically, so now what we're going to do is now we're going to jump to another view, and we've got her little first words book here. So I'll show her something to look at, and here we go. Okay, sweetheart. Hey, what's this? What's this? What's that? Good girl. Okay, let's show her something else. Let's see. Okay, hey, sweetheart, what's this? I'm getting her attention. What's this? What is this? What does that say? Sheep. Good girl. Okay, now I'm going to show you some things which could take too long to basically train on live on stage. So here we go. And this is now what she's doing now is she's basically making motions, and I'm copying her. So this is like a caregiver copying the child's reactions. Over time, she starts to associate my reactions with her own expressions. So we do this more and more, and then now I make an expression, she's copying me, she's learnt that. But you see now she's responding with a smile because I'm praising her, but she's also doing a cognitively driven expression as well as basically a lower motor pathway expression. Now if we take her motor cortex and we connect it to the bat in the game Pong, she doesn't know about this, we've just connected the bat in the game Pong and we've presented it to her visual field, and she gets a reward every time she hits it. She starts basically learning to control the bat. So what you'll see here is after a while, and this is kind of like how a baby learns by just flailing its arms around and it hits something and it kind of notices that. So that's basically, and now I'll just jump to the next slide. So now this is a sort of interesting view of basically how the baby sees the world. You know, this is people interacting with it, so you don't normally see a computer's point of view. And I'd like to thank my fantastic team, and so we're building Baby X version 4 at the moment. That's version 3, which is about a year old, so version 4 should be out by around December, sort of January sort of time. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. So we got a brand new presenter now, the Auckland Face Simulator, presented by Mark SIGGRAPH from the Laboratory for Animated Technologies from Auckland Bioengineering Institute in the University of Auckland. Mark?
Thank you. So the Auckland Face Simulator project is really, okay, we're working on babies, but then we're also looking at the face as a human-computer interaction. Say, what happens if you wanted to put a face on Siri, and also the type of thing if you wanted to do like a human-computer interaction with the face, so you can, and also for psychological experiments. So this is one of these faces. It's kind of running live, so it's watching me, and they're pretty detailed, so we can kind of really zoom right in on them. That's probably a bit too far, and then go down, move the light around. So, and now we swap to another view. Now we've got full control over these faces. Like, we can make them pretty much do any sort of expression that you want. So, and they're quite expressive. So if we do something, let's do something silly. Let's do that, and sort of come down, and where's it? Let's just go down a bit more. I'm trying to find stuff. Okay, yeah. And let's go up, and why not this one? And, you know, let's just polish off this wonderful expression with this. So we can make these pretty silly sort of computer characters. So let's just swap views at the moment. But anyway, this is a bit cruel. So let's give this poor avatar a break. And so swap to another one. So here we go. And this is another avatar. So it's all being driven in the same system. You can move the light around, you know, zoom right in on these. And with these avatars, we've got full control over their expressions as well. You know, make them do whatever you want. And we go close up, so we can get quite sort of film quality effects in real time on these, and they're controllable in real time. So, and let's do a dental exam, seeing we had the dental tool here, but that's what we need to look at this. So let's go check out our teeth, and move the light around. So there we go, and it's a bit of a funky expression. So now the other thing with these models is that you can also, you know, let's accessorize them. So let's give her some glasses. Here we go. So you've got, it's a bit of a reflection in that one. I'll tilt the camera. So now what I'm going to do at the moment is I'm going to give her basically a gender, race, and age change in one go. Bam. Okay, there we go. Right, so, and we can sort of, same thing with his face, we can zoom right in, you know, do all kinds of, like, let's give him a Bruce Lee sort of expression or whatever. So, now, coming back, we've got, you know, full control, so we can make a look at me, for example, and, you know, go back to here. Now, because these avatars, basically, you can make them say anything. So when it's connected to a text-to-speech engine, for example, if I go and, you know, like, and you can choose whatever language, voice that you want to use. So let's give her, like, German.
Willkommen in Deutschland.
And then, you know, how about a little further east?
欢迎到中国.
So that's using text-to-speech, so making the avatar say whatever you want, but then we can also use sort of canned content.
Hello. How can I help you?
Now, the fun thing is while she's doing this, we can totally mess with her expressions, you know. Now, you can change the meaning of what she's talking about.
I understand.
So,
Yes.
this,
No. No. No.
you know, there's one number changing the whole meaning of what she's saying. So this is what's missing from human-computer interaction, basically, is the power of the face. So now, as what we can basically do too is we can. Let's. I'll stop her talking for a moment, and we can. Okay. Okay, you be quiet. Okay. Now the other thing is, because she's got basically also can be driven by neural networks, just like Baby X. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to just drop all these neurotransmitter levels. So basically, in one fell swoop, I've given her severe depression. But unlike people, we can fix it really fast. There we go. Okay, so let's start her talking again. And now we swap between faces.
How can I help you?
So,
Thank you.
and we can keep going through. Drive. So this is like a 5D sort of thing. And, you know, we can...
I understand.
Whoops, better not do that. Okay, yes. And now let's go, and how should we finish off? Let's see. I know. Let's do down here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. Every year, the Computer Animation Festival presents awards to the best in multiple categories. This year, we're honored to have been given the Best Real-Time Graphics and Interactivity Award to be given out to one of the Real-Time Live pieces. So, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce the winner of the Best Real-Time Graphics and Interactivity for the Computer Animation Festival, Pushing Photorealism in A Boy and His Kite, presented by Nick Benderman from Epic Games.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you to the Real-Time Live jury and the Computer Animation Festival on behalf of everybody at Epic Games who worked really hard on this demo. We are honored, so thank you. So earlier this year, we set out to build a demo to push photorealism and large world support in UE4. I'll start by playing the cinematic A Boy and His Kite in real time, running on PC here. Then I'll talk a little bit about the technology behind it. Thank you. So now I'll switch over into interactive mode and talk a little bit about the technology. So the setting for A Boy and His Kite is a 100 square mile region modeled after the Isle of Skye in Scotland. All the lighting is fully dynamic, so I can change the time of day here. We decided to go with fully dynamic lighting for two reasons, really. Partly, we wanted it to be a feature of the demo, but we didn't want our artists to have to deal with a long light map baking process for such a large world. We had to solve a couple of technical challenges to have high-quality dynamic lighting in a world this large. The first is sun shadows in the distance. So if I disable everything except for the sun shadows themselves and then use only cascaded shadow maps, you can see how we cut them out pretty close to the camera. This is because we don't, performance in the distance actually gets really bad due to the large number of triangles that have to be rasterized to the shadow depth maps. Also, the quality gets pretty poor just due to shadow map resolution in the distance. So we added a new technique called ray trace distance field shadows. And this gives us accurate sun shadows all the way out to the horizon. The way this works is we actually have a separate representation of the scene stored as signed distance fields. So I can kind of visualize that for you here. And what this is doing is ray tracing through the signed distance field representation of the scene and visualizing what those signed distance fields look like. So that is sun shadows. Now, another feature that we wanted to support is sky occlusion. So if I move the sun a little bit and get to a point where this tree is mostly in shadow, if I can find a good one again. Maybe I'll try a different tree. This one looks good. There we go. You can see that when we only have the skylight, the lighting is pretty flat. So if I enable distance field shadows, or distance field occlusion, we're able to get actually much nicer body to the light, just real depth to the light. This works by taking the distance field representation of the scene, and we shoot 9 cone traces per sample to get an approximation of how much of the sky is visible and in what direction. The final component that we wanted to add is an approximation for a single bounce GI. So here that is toggling that on and off. This really helps to tie everything together. It gives you the nice warm bounce lighting from the sun. This is an approximation of a single bounce of global illumination from the sun bouncing off of the terrain. And so I can toggle both features on and off, and you can see how much it really does add to the scene. So now I can just hop down on the ground and I'll walk around a little bit. All of the assets in the demo are photo scanned. So basically we had technical artists go out into the field and take thousands of pictures of rocks and trees and terrain and so on. And then we used 3D reconstruction software to reconstruct 3D models and textures for those assets. And it really helped in creating a photorealistic demo. So now I'll pull out the camera a little bit again, just to show the size and scale of this world. Again, the lighting is all fully dynamic, so I can change this at any point. And anything you can see here, you could fly to, you can check it out and see what that area of the landscape looks like. So all of the demo content that I've shown here today, as well as the engine and full source code, is available for free online to download from our website. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. This is the second year that we're running the Immersive Realities contest. And to tell us all about it, I want to invite Jason Gerald from Next Gen Interactions to the stage.
Thank you, Nico. As Nico mentioned, I had the pleasure of leading the contest again this year. And the contest is really meant to bring the best of virtual reality and augmented reality experiences to SIGGRAPH. This year, we had 48 submissions from all over the world. The submissions consisted not only of augmented reality and virtual reality experiences by themselves, but hybrid mixed reality systems of bringing those together. And the submissions were surprisingly high quality. In fact, we ended up deciding to feature the top 10 finalists in the VR Village that you can go experience for yourself throughout the week. Here tonight, we'll be presenting the top 3 finalists. And as many of you know, watching a VR or AR presentation is completely different than actually experiencing it. All 3 finalists will be presenting tomorrow in the VR Village, so you can experience that for yourself. Now, to actually choose who the ultimate winner is, that's up to you. You can vote now, or you can go ahead and vote after you experience that tomorrow. And the way you vote is you simply go to your SIGGRAPH app, you go to the sort by venue, choose the Immersive Realities, and there'll be a link there for you to vote for each one of those finalists on a ranking from 1 through 5. I'm pleased to now present the top 3 finalists. Watch carefully, as your vote is very important for determining the winner. Up first, we have Discovering Near Field VR, stop motion with a touch of light fields and a dash of redirection, presented by Mark Bolus and Tai Fan from the USC Institute for Creative Technologies. Mark?
I love being in virtual worlds. I've been doing it for a long time now, and I can't get enough. But the problem is after you look at it a while, you get used to it, and it kind of loses that surreal rush that you get. So I stay up late at night trying to think of what's going to be the next surreal rush. And to me, stop-motion characters are it. They're just kind of creepy, so I would love to be surrounded by stop-motion characters coming up to my face. The problem is, in virtual reality, what looks good on a rendered screen doesn't necessarily look good in the virtual world. We have all these near-field cues of stereoscopy, of being able to touch, of specular reflections. So how do we represent these sorts of models in a virtual world? To start solving this problem, I turned to stop-motion artists at the USC School of Cinematic Arts, and they made a whole menagerie of characters, and we're going to start looking at those today. We want to make sure that they don't look like anything you would see in a 3D modeling program. So with that, let's turn to the first character, which is the Exquisite Corpse. And this was done as a 4-day experience with each artist doing a little bit, not seeing what the artist before them did, and then the next artist coming in and adding to it. And they never saw the complete piece till they were in the virtual world. Now, in order to get these into the virtual world, we had to build a capture rig. So with that, we're going to go on over to the video. It's a 360-degree capture rig. It spins the model around. We take pictures typically about 360 all the way around. And we integrated it into the computer pipeline that the animation artists already use, because they have to worry about what's the next best pose by looking at trajectories and looking at overlays between frames. Because the camera virtually translates around the model, we can extract light field information later to make better models. So let's turn back to the virtual world. So Ty is now going to look at cube face. As he gets close, you're going to be able to see the nuances and details that would be, would be absent in a polygonal model. You can even see the thumbprints from the artist's fingers on the clay. And the important thing is that when you're in the head-mounted display, it looks like it's made out of clay. The next model is our billboarded polygons. And this will sort of expose our technique, the simplest technique we do. All we do is texture images onto a billboarded polygon, have it pick the best left and right eye image for where you're at, including difference if you go forward or back, and it starts looking like the creature. But what's important to see here is that you can detect nuances like the iridescence off the feathers and specular reflections off the eyes. So normally we don't do this. We mat the images in, and we can place them anywhere. Here we've got this guy, and you can even place, even though it's just made out of images, you can place it in a character's hand. The object can be treated much the same way normal geometry is. It creates an object illusion that creates a strong sense of presence, and you even can start seeing occlusion from your fingers. Again, really important in the near field. These blocks will show you all of our dirty laundry. The block on the left uses our simple billboarded texture technique. And you can see that it's not really correct because you can see all the way through the holes even when you get up close. That's because we're stuck with the perspective of the camera when we shot the image. But on the right block, we start using light field techniques because we can synthesize any viewpoint using a light field. Basically, you extract a slice from the proper camera point and you paste that in on the image where it makes sense. Note that as Ty gets closer, the holes begin to tilt inward, which is what the god of perspective decreed should happen. Also notice that it squishes vertically. That's because we haven't done vertical rebinning yet. But let's leave behind these blocks and see how it works in practice. We do close-ups of this guy's head. The one on the left is not rebinned, and the one on the right is. And what's interesting is that it looks pretty good on the left because it's organic shape. But the light field rebinning is really important when you get really close. You'll notice the nose is longer, which is as it should be on the character, and you'll really notice this, especially if you try it tomorrow when you look at the stereoscopy. Next up is our ticklish peacock. So our perceptual system is logarithmically sensitive to things in the near field. Our ability to see stereo and a lot of these details decreases as exponential as it goes away. So it's really important to get the appearance details. Here you'll see you can start getting subsurface scattering, translucence. Realize that all you have to do is move your head a little bit, and all of a sudden you'll see a glint or you won't. Those are the important things that you have to retain, and it's really hard to do with polygonal models. By the way, this is all running at up to 90 hertz frame rates with all the models at the same time. So these image-based techniques are fairly kind to the GPU. Our final character is an air-breathing jellyfish. And what's interesting for me about this is that our stop-motion artists started pushing us. They realized, oh, I can start using specular materials, or in this case, a gauzy mesh, and the really fine details in the threads, all of which come through when you do it. You can even see the little hole punched in the gauze. Finally, Ty, if you'll turn around and look at the whole hall, you'll realize that Ty's been walking in our phase-based tracking system in a very small, about 4 foot by 8 foot sheet of plywood size. But in fact, he's virtually been traversing the entire menagerie. For this, we implemented our redirected walking toolkit. So while he was zigzagging back and forth in the dark red pattern, he felt like he was walking in the bright red pattern. We do this by introducing translation gains and rotation gains as he moves to keep him in the tight space. And we think it's important because that tight space is the same size as you would find in front of your couch in your living room, and we think that's going to be an important place to experience near-field VR. If you want more technical details, you can go to the poster session tomorrow. I'm supposed to present it there. And then also, of course, come to the e-tech area. So the AR/VR Village has got some of the demos, and then we're right across from it in e-tech, but that's where our motion capture stage is. So that's where you'll find this demonstration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Up next, we have Never Blind in VR, presented by Jeffrey Sub-Ilo from Dassault Systems. Jeffrey?
All right. Bonjour, SIGGRAPH. Hi, everyone. So I'm Jeffrey. I'm part of the Immersive Virtuality lab of Dassault Systems. Today, I'd like to share a social VR experience which is called Never Blind in VR. And for that experience, I have my SIGGRAPH volunteer, Julian Chenet. So Julian, now you are blind in VR. So as explained in this video, the headset isolates Julian from the real. You cannot see his body. So his contact with me and the real is now very deteriorated. Sorry. So we created what we call an augmented virtuality experience by injecting elements of the real coming from this Kinect. And the particularity of our system is to use point clouds. Here it is. Sorry. OK. So this is a third-person view of the augmented virtuality world. Even if it's not very dense, the point cloud is surprisingly present to the user when seen from his eyes through the headset. And now this is a first-person view of what he sees. Although not very dense, you can see me, yeah. Again, the point cloud is vague enough to not fall into the uncanny valley when the user sees real person. So now, Julian, can you put your arms like this, please? OK, use your arms. Can you look at your legs and move them? Do you feel like they're yours?
Yeah.
OK. Now, can you touch the chair here? OK. By touching the chair and looking at his own body, actually the brain of Julian is creating an acceptable coherence between his new vision and his tactile perception and proprioception. So now something more difficult. I'm going to grab, sorry. this suitcase. Are you ready? Great. OK. Thanks. So now let's explore a usage in the consumer goods industry, for instance, a retail scenario. For this scenario, what I'm going to do is to remove the objects, but only keep humans so we can focus on the virtual objects. But I don't want you to bump into obstacle, so I activate the obstacle detection mode. The point cloud is now filtered, so close objects will come and will start appearing red when you're too close. OK, so now that you're comfortable in the real world, let's make a virtual object appear. Here is a bicycle. I'm going to switch to a first-person view. So let's imagine, Julian, you are in a bicycle shop, and I'm the shopkeeper. I'd like to try out a couple of bikes, but it's a small shop, and I don't have them physically in store. So I propose you to do the review on virtual. So here is a collection of bikes, for instance. Is there one you would like to try?
Yeah, can you remove this and I'll buy it?
OK, you mean this little fancy reflector? As I can see you pointing at things, which is interesting with the system, I can understand what you're pointing at. OK, no problem. Deal. Shake. Thank you. So thank you, Julian. The last thing I'd like to share with you is that we are actually rewriting most of the code with pure web technologies. So if, like us, you're seeing that the future of innovation is domain is open and collaborative, please visit this website and tell us your thoughts. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Up next, we have Real Virtuality, Immersive Explorers, presented by Sylvain Chaguet, Cecilia Charbonnet, Clementine Lowe from the Anime Foundation.
Thank you, Jason. Hello, everyone. I'm Sylvain Chaguet, co-founder and technology director of Artanim, a private research institution located in Geneva, Switzerland. Since its creation 4 years ago, we have been working on a large diversity of motion capture-related projects, ranging from medical simulation to virtual reality. As no doubt many of you here today, we have been following with a great interest the recent development in VR hardware. And we were amazed by all the new possibilities offered by this system. However, we were still a bit frustrated by not being able to freely move in a virtual world. Being stuck in a chair was very frustrating for us. Basically, we wanted more from this technology. We wanted to be able to walk freely in a virtual environment. We wanted to interact with physical objects while in VR, and we wanted to collaborate with other players. So that's why we decided to work on that project. Let me introduce you to my two colleagues and co-founder of Artanim, Cecilia Charbonnier, here, which is our research director, and Clémentine Lowe, which is our creative director. Today, they will have the unique opportunity to travel back in time and space to an ancient pharaoh tomb. But right now, as you can see, they are still in our loading program. Yes, if you were wondering, that's an obvious reference to a certain blockbuster movie that you probably have all seen. A few words about the setup that we have here. So we have a motion capture system consisting of 16 Bonita cameras kindly provided by Vicon. They are controlled by Tracker 3 running on a workstation. The data is transmitted wirelessly to the computers in the backpack, which are then responsible to render the virtual world in the head-mounted displays. This setup is very simple and easy to use, and which was one of the main goals when we worked on that project, since we wanted to use this kind of system for museums or exhibition or theme parks, for example. in terms of user setup, obviously we had to look for something a bit more simple than the Velcro mocap motion capture suits. So we ended up with a system, as you can see here, where basically the person are a set of rigid bodies on their feet, hand, head, and backpack. And basically, this reduced the setup time to about 30 seconds per user, which is quite interesting. In terms of capture space, the space we have here at Real Time Live is relatively small, but you have to imagine that with this kind of technology, we can easily scale up very fast to much larger spaces. All right, enough tech talk for now, and let's jump to the demonstration. I'm now going to teleport my two colleagues to an ancient pharaoh's tomb. So for this demonstration, we worked in collaboration with Kenzan, a 3D studio located in Geneva, Switzerland, who worked on the scenography and 3D content of the demo. It's pretty dark in there, don't you think? I wonder if there was a way to maybe bring them some light. Look at that. I actually have a stick here with some reflective markers on it. Maybe we could use that as a torch or something like that. Let me bring that to them. There you are. The great advantage of that system is that it's based on passive markers. So that means that you can track pretty much anything as long as you can put some reflective marker on it. For example, there is this small safe here on the floor. That's quite interesting. Would be nice to have a closer look at it. Being able to interact in VR with real objects is amazing. It adds a whole new level to the feeling of immersion and presence. The second issue we had to tackle while developing this system was latency. We solved that issue by basically fusing the data coming from the HMD, which has a very low latency but an average accuracy, with the data of the motion capture system, which is very accurate but has slightly more accuracy. And in the end, we ended up with a system that has both low latency and great accuracy. As a demonstration, I'm now going to ask Cecilia and Clementine to play a little game of catch with the torch. If there are children in the room, please don't try this at home or you get severely burned. Good. In terms of character animation, we are using the motion capture tracking data to drive inverse kinematic goals on our characters. And we have a simple calibration phase at the very beginning. All right, so that was real virtuality. If you want to try the system, we'll be at VR Village tomorrow and on Vicon booth at 4:45 p.m. tomorrow and Thursday at 12:30. Thanks a lot for your attention, and don't forget to vote.
Thank you so much, guys. So before I bring everything to a close, I just want to quickly thank everybody who was involved in putting this together, the Real Time Live committee, our jury for both Real Time Live and the Immersive Realities AR/VR contest. Don't forget to vote, please, because you guys are the ones that are picking the winner. I also want to thank our sponsor, Health 2047, and our donors, quite a couple of them. Without them, we have not been able to do this. So with that, I want to thank every one of you for joining us tonight. I hope you have a fantastic SIGGRAPH, and I'll see you guys soon. Have a good night.